Heritage can be an important thing to many people. It can give you purpose and meaning. More often than not, it helps you to know where you come from. Maybe you come from a well-rooted family tree, or perhaps you're new to the area. Despite these differences, we all came from somewhere. But where are we exactly? Some would say the middle of nowhere, and they might be right. Join me today as we reflect on the origins of St. John. Much of our information has come from the book No Cyclone Shall Destroy by Cleland Cole and Helen Malin Ruber. Before the settlers were here, Native Americans, under the leadership of Santanta, made this their home. From a map in the book No Cyclone Shall Destroy, we can see a couple of the lookout hills used by these people. The first is Pilot Knob, south of Stafford, which has been overgrown by trees. The second is located west of the four-way stop north of Stafford on what many call the 4th Street Road that leads to Hutchinson. With all of its trees, St. John could be called a forest by some, but those trees didn't exist when our founders first settled. Driving in the country, you'll often find vast expanses of fields. This was more like the prairie of old. Can you see it? Just imagine the vast expanse of grassland our founders met. Buffalo wallows and bones dotted the rolling plains, and little creeks wound through the valleys. In some places the grass grew thick and lush, and others, where the prairie had been burned off, dust was thick. Prairie desolate, and a far cry for those who had come from the forested hills of the east. It's almost a wonder just how in the world our ancestors roughed it out here. They faced heat and wind, trackless prairie, blizzards, cool droughts. Yes, sir, they took it all in stride. They lived through sickness without doctors, hunger without food, bitter cold without adequate fuel, and they built their homes and stayed. But why? One word: hope. They dreamed of homes they could call their own. They dreamed of land where they could till, where in freedom they could work, worship, and raise families. It was hope of a better tomorrow for their children and grandchildren that they built walls out of the earth, and it was in faith that they stayed. It was here where they developed a depth of character and faith which would give them strength in times of need, and which would bring on a deeper appreciation of the glory of freedom. Now then, thanks to Photoshop, here is again an approximation of what William Bickerton and his little band of followers saw as they journeyed south from Great Bend to a hill north of what is now St. John, which they called Zion Valley. We will now go on location to close this short documentary with an unusual feature that few towns claim. Alright, so here we are at St. John's 1st and Main, right there. Now, many towns have a 1st Street, but St. John's 1st Street is the 38th parallel, which means that at one point, everything to that side of this street was Barton County, and that side was Pratt County, because we didn't exist then, but we do now. As we travel down 1st Street, let's see what the world has in store. First, we cross over into Missouri, then Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Maryland. Then we fly across the sea over to the islands of Azores. Then, after that, we hit Portugal and cross over into Andalusia, Spain, over to Italy for Sicily, and of course the tip of Italy's boot. Then it's off to Athens, Greece, the cradle of democracy. Then over into Turkey, and then of course the mountains of Arat, northern Iran, southern Mongolia, northern Tibet, across the Great Wall of China and into Xinjiang, China. And then, now this gets exciting, because over here, what we have is, our first street is the 38th parallel, and that means we basically have a first street that is the dividing line between North and South Korea. After that, it is north of Tokyo, Japan, across the Pacific, and into California, somewhere in between San Francisco and Sacramento, Nevada, Utah, and then, of course, Pueblo, Colorado, and back home for some Pueblo Nuevo.